My name is Harry, and I'm from London.
Meghan Markle here. Today is June 10th, 2023. It is 2:59 a.m., 3 a.m. So I literally took an hour putting a list together for me to record some tweets for you. But what I want to do first, because yesterday I had the time, I could have edited, but I didn't have any video to edit. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna pick up with Harry's witness statement. I believe I left on page 25 last time, and I'm supposed to pick up on page 26. So let's continue. And I could have read this yesterday on my own, okay? But the fact that I want, when I'm recording, if I hear something for the first time and I have something to say, I want to share it with you. Because if I already read it and I already thought of whatever it is that I thought of, it's not gonna come up again when I'm recording. Any new subscribers, welcome. And I read some of the comments, by the way, who appreciate that I'm reading, even though I did share the link not only on the description, but I did share it the moment that I came across this with the link. I shared it on my community board. And some of you, I understand you don't have the time to read it, but let's say you're doing something around the house. Even with my accent, I'm sorry, sometimes I have a hard time pronouncing some words, but at least you could listen. Okay, these things are for you guys. Okay, so let's pick up 103, page 26. The article contained a quote from a spokesperson allegedly on my behalf, which states that I have already spoken to my father, quote, but any conversation will remain private, end quote. However, it goes on to say detail that my father was, quote, sympathetic, end quote, to the situation I was facing with the press, that I was apologetic, and that I also apologized to my security officers for putting them in a difficult position. It also states that I was, quote, sensitive, end quote, following accusation that I had been helped to pass one of my A-levels by a teacher. So here they were somewhat undermining Harry's ability of doing well at, you know, his A-level schooling, similar to Princess Diana, where I have a clip where Princess Diana was saying they thought she was stupid because she never passed her A-level. So this is the same comparison that I'm getting here. Let me put that clip.
I was portrayed in the media at that time, if I remember rightly, as someone, because I hadn't passed any O-levels and taken any A-levels, I was stupid. And I made the grave mistake once of saying to a child I was thick as a plank in order to ease the child's nervousness, of which it did. But that headline went all around the world, and I rather regret saying it.
Following accusation that I had been helped to pass one of my A-levels by a teacher. And funny enough, when I was making a list for this and for this video, well, not this video, the next recording that I do after I finish record this, I came across a video on Twitter that this individual was talking how Harry's making a big mistake, something about car crash and all of that, and I responded, I think it was right here. All right, okay, so let's just, there it is, okay, because someone just like it. It's 31 seconds. Listen to this.
I actually think this is a car crash for British justice, for the British justice system, because this is actually quite laughable what is happening here if it wasn't so serious. The Prince Harry, in my opinion, is damaging the institution that is the British legal system, because he's using it and abusing it. And you are completely right when you were talking about the influence of lawyers keeping this alive, because they have made millions. I actually think this is a...
They make well, the lawyers are there to represent the people, but you guys, the papers, make billions off of Harry's pain. All right, so this was the how do you call this, the caption of the tweet. Quote, Prince Harry, in my opinion, is damaging the institution that is the British legal system. But if they had left him alone, and let him move on with his life, none of this would have happened. And then you have people of all sort of life, I mean, not the little people who's been, you know, who don't have a voice or anything like that, but prominent people who's in well-off position coming out after Harry. But Harry had the end of the stick. Alright, so this is my comment on this. Okay, IPSO ignored all of his claim. No one wanted to listen to him. We've seen the headlines about him over the years. Where were some of these people when the papers were abusing a teenage prince without his mother? Now this is a car crash. How much can a man take? God will protect them. Yeah, using the car crash. Look at it. I pause it where it is. Yeah, I actually think this is a car crash. Okay, Harry was on his own over there. Yeah, so they could write anything without his consent, do whatever they want without him, you know, to open his mouth. He's supposed to just sit there and take it. I mean, come on, how much can a man take? Okay, so let's continue. I'm glad I found it really quickly. Okay, 104. This was a particularly challenging period of my youth. I had just turned 20, and like most 20-year-olds, I wanted to go out and socialize. However, anywhere I went, the paparazzi seemed to turn up. Even though efforts were always being made to conceal where I was going, there was often up to 15 men waiting outside with huge cameras. It was like being swarmed by a rabbit mob. Most small clubs and bars didn't have back entrances, and if they did, the paparazzi will find out and cover them too. Therefore, the advice of my PPOs was that I had to walk out, hold my head high, and just try to push past and get in the car. On rare occasion, I even hid in the boot. When this incident occurred, my car was parked across the road, and I had to get from the club door across the pavement, across the road, and around to the far side of the car and to the passenger side. The paparazzi had me surrounded, their arms in my face. My goodness, can you just imagine that? They don't take photographs like you expect. It's just their arm stretching out, pushing a button, taking hundreds of photos all at once with the flash in your face. I couldn't even see where I was going. As I reached the car, I could hear taunting. I was being egged. What? I was being egged on for a reaction, knowing I'd been out and had a few drinks. A camera hit me across my nose as I was opening the door. I turned and grabbed the nearest camera to me and shoved it backward. My goodness, this explanation alone, can you imagine somebody going through that all the time? And this is what the others wanted him to just stay there and take that abuse. And that video that I just showed you, this guy talking, this is a car crash happened. I mean, my goodness, where were these guys when Harry was going through all of this? No one of prominent, of someone with integrity to say this needs to stop to that young man. My goodness, now that he's sticking up for himself, and now they're saying all of this, it's a car crash ready to happen. God is good. Diana, you sacrifice yourself for your son. Okay, you know how it feels. Make sure you protect his little family. Okay, 105. The article is accurate and that it report I was taken back to Clement's house, then on to see a doctor. Everyone in the family, including my father, was sympathetic to the position I was in. There was no spite, never an off moment when I was allowed to go out with my friends without the intrusion and harassment. As I was reading this, everyone in the family, including my father, was sympathetic to the position I was in. This reminds me of when Harry sang, the father who was telling him because he went through it, so therefore it's okay for Harry to go through it as well. Okay, where Harry is saying, that doesn't make sense. Okay, I'll insert that piece here.
My father used to say to me when I was younger, he used to say to both William and I, well, it was like that for me, so it's going to be like that for you. That doesn't make sense. Just because you suffered, that doesn't mean that your kids have to suffer. In fact, quite the opposite. If you suffered, do everything you can to make sure that whatever negative experiences that you had, that you can make it right for your kids. We chose to put our mental health first. That's what we're doing, and that's what we will continue to do. Isn't this all about breaking the cycle? Isn't this all about making sure that history doesn't repeat itself? That whatever pain and suffering has happened to you that you don't pass on?
So he was sympathetic that he's going through it, but he didn't do anything to put a stop to it. So there's Harry here. He's making sure he's putting a stop to it. So his kid, and possibly some of his brother who actually stabbed him in the back, okay? And his mother's back, okay? Looking out for his kids. So this thing don't happen again. Okay, let's see here. Where was I? It was also true that I was finding the media intrusion particularly difficult, or as the defendant journalist put it, sensitive, because of the heightening attention due to reports surrounding my A-levels and the employment tribunal hearing of my former teacher. I felt like I was under constant scrutiny, although I rarely spoke about this, only to those closest to me, so I'm not sure how the defendant journalist could have legitimately obtained that information. Again, this is an example of why will they write about this on the paper? Okay, so they must have listened somewhere on my phone, this kind of thing. So, and also the other thing that I get in this paragraph is the fact that the way that they've been portrayed, William, around the world, let's say in the US, for instance, there was a squad who mentioned it as well in France and Europe. All right, they portrayed William as this particular very knowledgeable, he's smart, he could do all of this. So there's Harry who's trying his best and he did pretty well. Now the papers is taunting him. How dare him have a score well in a test or something like that. Okay, he's not supposed to do well, this kind of thing. So they undermining his abilities. Okay, so I'm telling you, Harry's going through he's going through a lot. Okay, 64. Harry is Chelsea fan. Mirror, 29 November 2004. Anthony Hardwood and Lobos. Okay, 106. The article was published on page 7 of the Daily Mirror, written by Anthony Hardwood, and was labeled as an exclusive. I understand that Mr. Hardwood is well known in this litigation for being a prolific commissioner of authorized of payment to private investigators known to be involved in phone hacking and blabbing of private information. These private investigators, including LRI, Jonathan Stafford, Newsreel, Commercial and Legal Services, Tillen and Dove, Capital Inquiry, and Benji Pelly. The article features a large photograph taken of Chelsy Davy, who I had started dating. She went on to be my long-term girlfriend. This paparazzi style photograph was taken without Chelsy's consent. There she is. Harry is sticking up for a lot of people. Okay, we're letting people know she didn't give consent for that. This paparazzi style photograph was taken without Chelsy's consent. The article report that I had spent time with Chelsy when I was in Argentina, that we had a stay together at the El Romaso Ranch, including a quote from a construction worker. They find anybody. Construction worker identified as Remo, who had allegedly seen us together in Lobos, and stated I had known Chelsy for some time, as she had attended a school near Highgrove. 107. What really interesting about this article is that I actually had no idea that Chelsy was going to be joining me in Lobos. I had spent some time with her in Botswana and we had grown close. Mark Dyer was in Argentina with me, and I had made arrangement with Chelsy over the phone by they just hear some part and then they make something out of it. Wow. Okay, Mark Dyer was in Argentina with me and had made arrangement with Chelsy over the phone by voicemail and text message for her to come and surprise me. No one else knew of the plan, so I can't understand how any of the media had known where we were or who she was. As I mentioned above, I was extremely guarded and took all possible steps to keep as much of my life private as possible. However, it felt like I was under constant surveillance, hunted by the media, and this is just another example of this. Yeah, he's giving a lot of examples. 108, I also remember Chelsy telling me about this photograph. Someone just walked up to her in the street, confronting her about our relationship. You can see in her face that she's petrified. She was only 19 at the time and had never experienced anything like it. Yet the photo was used as some kind of a trophy that the defendant had managed to find her. This wasn't the only time this happened. Phew. Okay, my solicitors have shown me a number of contribution payment requests that appear to relate to this article and the days leading up to it. Okay, so they had to do a lot of investigation. So he's corresponding to back up his claim. So any pictures that was taken around this time and then receipt of payment to this particular photographer will be a form of evidence. I see what he's saying here. Okay. My solicitors have shown me a number of contribution payment requests that appear to relate to this article and the days leading up to it. The first, a payment to Gerard Cousins for £150 with the description Prince Harry in Argentina, dated 25 November 2004. And they literally put corresponding it to what it was for. The second, a payment to Big Pictures for £250 with the description Prince Harry on motorbike, page 7, EN. The third, again, a payment to Gerard Cousins and the sum of £150 with the description Prince Harry in Argentina. There are then 3 payments dated 28 November 2004, the day prior to publication of the article. The first to Jeff Rayner. Jeff Rayner, that remind me of was it Tom Sr. saying something about Jeff Rayner? Okay.
That may have been one of the things that upset her, and of course the photographs were a setup. I was set up by a guy named Jeff Rayner.
Was it Tom Sr. saying something about Jeff Rayner?
Set up by a guy named Jeff Rayner and another guy named Dylan Howard, who was with American Media, I think. And the whole thing was a plan to actually mess up the wedding.
The day prior to publication, the article, the first to Jeff Rayner, photographs for $470 with the description 27/11/04 Prince Harry, and the second and the third payment to Gerard Cousins of Tag News Media for £200 and £150 respectively with the description Harry Assist and Harry Argentina Assist. Okay, there is also a payment to Mike Burr for £250 with the description 2-day assist Prince Harry, dated 29 November 2004, the day of publication, and another on 30 November 2004, the day after publication, to Mike Burr for £150 with the description Cape Town inquiry on Harry Girl. So that's a lot of receipt here. I have to give prop for lawyers to investigate and find all of this. Okay, 110. The volume of inquiries is incredible. It's so shocking. The defendant commissioned so many lines of inquiries, and to me at the same time, it is obvious they were doing everything in their power to glean my private information while I was starting a serious relationship. Okay, 66. When Harry met Daddy, the biggest danger to wildlife in Africa. Mirror, Graham, Bro, and Jane Kerr, Royal Reporter, 13 December 2004. This article, which appeared on page 11 of the Daily Mirror, written by Jane Kerr and Graham Bro, okay, I hope I pronounce it right, revealed details of me meeting Chelsy's family for the first time. Again, I am aware of the documentation that suggests Jim Kerr had previously instructed Jonathan Stafford, but I now also understand that Graham Bro is well known in this litigation for being a commissioner of private investigators known to be involved in phone hacking and blagging of private information. These private investigators, including JJ Service, Jonathan Stafford, Commercial and Legal Services, Research Associates, Hogan International, and ELI. 112. The article published as an exclusive features 2 photographs of Hunter lifted from her father's Safari Company website, a large close-up photograph of Chelsy, who is not looking at the camera and looks quite concerned, along with a small photograph of me. It reports that I was introduced to Chelsy's father on the previous day, that I was enjoying a holiday with Chelsy in Mozambique, and that we had flown over to the island of Bazuruto, to meet other members of her family, including her mother Beverly and brother Sean. It's also stated I will be flying back to Britain on 19 December. My goodness. No wonder why he loves Africa. He really did enjoy those moments with these people. Okay, when he thought he was having some private moment and just being, with a family. You could see where he was trying to create that family aspect over there, but they intruded in him. Oh my goodness. All right, this is a different level, different branch of things. Okay, don't include other little things you could include. I don't even want to mention what I'm thinking, but don't include other things. Sometimes when I say certain things, there's different branch. Okay, so here I'm talking in terms where he was trying to create, something that he wanted to happen, but they interfere in it and prevent it from happening. In a way, maybe it's good. All right. That's it. Let's move on to the next one. 113. I am at a complete loss as to how these details were obtained. As I have said previously, detail of my travel plans include dates I will be flying were not released by the palace for security reasons, yet the specific date I will return to Britain was published days in advance. It was also true that I met Chelsy's family for the first time in Mozambique. The article itself even suggests that the defendant's journalist had contacted the palace to confirm their story and was told by Clarence House that matters of my relationship were private. 114. My solicitors have shown to me a series of 4 contribution request payment made to Big Pictures, which they conclude relate to this article. One payment is for £300 with the description Prince Harry Day 1, date 10 December 2004. Another £300 with the description Prince Harry, dated 12 December 2004, and 2 further payment, both for £300 and dated 13 December 2004, the date of the article. I now believe this is how the defendant obtained the detail reported. So this is the assumption based. This is the thing, you can't open your mouth without having any evidence. So he's plugging the receipts, receipts that he was able to correspond with certain headlines, and then he's confirming some of the things that they wrote about it, which was true, but yet it was supposed to be private, and when they tried to confirm it with the palace, the private did not respond because he tried to keep this kind of thing private. So how did they get it? Who told the papers about that? So it must be phone hacking. So putting one together, that's what it is. 115. What is also interesting about this article is the small off-the-cuff mention of the fact Chelsy and I had been dating for 8 months. It was less than a month since Chelsy's name had been put into the public domain by the tabloid, and we had managed to keep our relationship a secret for a good few months before it was exposed without our consent. There's the thing here. Consent. What's clear to me is that the defendant's journalists knew far more than they put into the public domain, and they want to reveal too much of their hand for fear of exposing the unlawful ways they were really obtaining this kind of personal and private information. That is a very good point on this here. Page 29, Harry's girl to dump him, Mirror 15, January 2005, Jane Kerr, Royal Reporter. And 69, Chelsy is not happy, Mirror 15, January 2005, J. Kerr, Royal Reporter, and Richard Smith. I mean, when you're reading this, the amount of into your business kind of reporting, it's like, my goodness. And then for that particular guy to say, you know, what is it, Prince Harry, and his opinion is damaging the institution? How much damage can it be done to know all of this private information when he's trying to move on with his life? Jesus Christ. Okay, 116. The first article, numbered 68, is front page headline of the Daily Mirror, which lead into the article number 69, which appear on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Mirror, marked as an exclusive, written by Jane Kerr, with the main article also contributed by Richard Smith. The article revealed that I was about to be dumped by Chelsy, along with what I now know about Jane Kerr. I also understand, my goodness, he was about to be dumped. But wow. I also understand Richard Smith, a well-known in this litigation for being a regular commissioner of private investigators, commercial and legal services. There was a lot of press coverage of me at the time, as I had attended a fancy dress party. A fancy dress party, and photographs. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Okay, and because one time when I first started reporting about the Sussexes, and I remember coming across a party picture, a picture that a party was taking place. I remember what I thought about it, and I was like, look at them, they all lying to each other, and they know they're lying to each other, but yet there they are. So that's what came to my eyes. I laugh about it. Okay, all right, so let's continue. That would have been in pure YTE, by the way. So let's continue. There was a lot of press coverage of me at the time, as I had attended a fancy dress party, and photographs had been sold to the press by an attendee of the party. However, the article by the defendant has a different focus. It reported that Chelsy was furious and had given me a tongue lashing down the phone following an allegation that I had been flirting with a brunette at the party. The article also reported that Chelsy had phoned me at my father's Highgrove home. The article contained several quotes from friends or other partygoers, but the details about our telephone communication are not attributed to anyone. So how could the defendant journalist know about this? My goodness. 117. I don't remember if Chelsy and I did argue about the party, given we were based in different countries. A lot of our relationship was conducted over the phone, so I know I would have spoken to her a lot over this time, because it was a challenging period for me, but I don't recall her reaction. He's being truthful here. I had been immature. I hadn't really thought about my action, and I had made a stupid decision, and my mistakes were being played out in public. This is someone who's owning his whatever he've done. Okay, so he's telling you he was young, he made a lot of mistakes, so there's a lot of things he didn't think about. So maybe it's one of those these people pick up, because I mean, how would you remember every little thing that you've done? Okay, by this stage, Chelsy was already extremely guarded about our relationship, and our circle of friends who were trusted with information about us had shrank considerably. Okay, every time these kinds of stories were published, there was a strain put on our relationship. We started to distrust everyone around us. In hindsight, knowing the extent to which MGN journalists were targeting us and intercepting our communication, we probably lost friends needlessly and put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be secretive and deal with problems without support. Wow. Dealing with problems without support. So they were going through some stuff. Sometimes you need a different perspective. You will speak to a friend about some problem. Like this morning, I went to do my hair. I was speaking to my hairdresser about certain things. She gave me a different perspective of things. Okay? This is the thing here. So they were going through some stuff. Unlike Harry, for instance, Chelsy probably, this is purely my speculation, my humble opinion. You know, she had her parents okay, where she could speak to, where this thing will stay confined, right? But Harry didn't really have that kind of family dynamic over there in the palace, where if he speaks to somebody, most likely it was gonna be sold to the tabloid again. So Harry was probably dealing with those problems by himself. Chelsy, on the other hand, in my humble opinion, will probably have a little kind of support with her family, because her family is not as public as Harry is. So Harry was going through so much. Oh my goodness. Again, that brings me back to that freaking idiot here. Okay? There's a young man who's going through some stuff, but nobody. Where was he when Harry was going through some of these, where those headlines were saying all this nonsense? Where was he to stick up for Harry and say the papers to stop? Is it these old people are really ruin the future of our society? So Harry's trying to put a stop to it. Now, where was I? Okay, I lost it. Okay, there it is. Okay, and put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be secretive and deal with problems without support. Out of sense of paranoia that articles like this created. Okay, 118. My solicitors have shown me call data showing calls from the defendant to the mobile phone of my associate, Guy Pelly. It appeared that someone working for MGN tried to call Guy on 13 January 2005, 2 days prior to the publication of these articles, which was the day the Sun had first published the detail of the party. The duration of the call was null, and I have been told that this is indicative to hacking, as it could be the first name of a double tap. It seems obvious to me that the defendant's journalists were digging around my associates to gain private information about me. I have also been shown an email from Miss Kerr to Mr. Burr asking for reaction to the Harry with the other girl allegation, and enclosing a draft story. What is notable in this draft is the removal of references to the length of the calls. I believe this was intentional to avoid arousing too much suspicion. 70. Shell Shock, The People, 23 January 2005, Dean Roswell, Royal Editor. Okay, line 120. Okay, paragraph 120. This article was published on page 24 of The People, written by Dean Roswell and marked as Royal Exclusive. It revealed detail of a highly private disagreement my father and I had about my relationship with Chelsy. The article reported that I had slammed the phone down on my father and included a quote from a senior aide that described me as being incandescent, when my father described my relationship as, quote, puppy love, and that I had exploded, telling my father that he had no right to lecture me on morals and that my father had been shocked by my outbursts. It reported I had been banned from seeing Chelsy, who was in Cape Town. 121. Again, I don't know how the defendant journalists obtained any of this information. Any disagreement between me and my father were private. However, I will have spoken to Chelsy about this, as it impacted on when we could see each other. Wow. So something like that must have happened. So there's a possibility he was talking to Chelsy about it. Okay, so they heard it and they report about it. Oh my goodness. And then Charles didn't do anything about that, for these people to report that on the paper. Okay, that was Charles' job, to put a stop to it, but he didn't do that. Okay, and now there's Harry trying to put a stop to it, and then all these people are coming out. That remind me of Charles saying, I have friends, lots of friends, who put his life somewhat at ease. They take care of business for him. This is what that remind me of, this guy. Okay?
The most damaging charge that is made in relation to your marriage is that you were, because of your relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles, from the beginning, persistently unfaithful to your wife, and thus caused the breakdown. What is your response to that persistent criticism?
Oh, that's the persistent criticism, is it? Well, and the trouble is, you see, that these things, again, as I was saying earlier, are so personal. it's difficult to know quite how to, to talk about these things in front of everybody. And obviously, I don't think many people would want to. But I mean, all I can say is that there's been so much speculation, feeding on every other kind of speculation, that it all becomes bigger and bigger. I mean, all I can say is that I mean, there is no truth in so much of this speculation. And Mrs. Parker Bowles is a great friend of mine. I have a large number of friends I'm terribly lucky to have.
That reminds me of Charles saying, I have friends, lots of friends, who put his life somewhat at ease. They take care of business for him.
And I have a large number of friends. I'm terribly lucky to have so many friends who I think are wonderful and make the whole difference to my life, which would become intolerable otherwise.
That reminds me of Charles saying, I have friends, lots of friends, who put his life somewhat at ease. They take care of business for him.
I have a large number of friends. I'm terribly lucky to have so many friends who I think are wonderful and make the whole difference to my life, which would become intolerable otherwise.
All right, this kind of article just perpetuates feeling of distrust. Within all of my relationship, nothing seemed to be off limits to the defendant's journalist. 122. I have seen that there were 3 suspicious calls made to Paddy the day prior to the article being published. Giving this article involved detail regarding communication between me and my father. I think this is highly suspicious. This shows me that MGN were digging around my associate to unlawfully gather my private information. There really was no respite from the press intrusion. 71. You did what? Sunday Mirror, 6 February 2005, Simon Wright. Okay, paragraph 123. This article, which appeared on page 5 of the Sunday Mirror, included a photograph of me and a cape, a picture of the home of Richard Meade, where I had attended a party, and a full-page photograph of a George Springfield and Francesca Grieveson, who had also been at the same party. It is alleged by the defendant's journalist that Mr. Springfield, who attended the party as a guest of his girlfriend and was not known to me, was the source of the photograph of me at the party, which had been sold to a private newspaper. Wow. The article reported that the defendant journalist had confronted him about being the source of the leaked photographs and that they had also contacted his mother for her comment. My God, Jesus Christ, these people, any kind of link that they find, they try to intrude into it. My goodness. Mr. Springfield categorically denied being responsible and threatened legal action, as it reported at the end of the article. Okay, 125. As mentioned above, there had been extensive coverage of the party after the photographs were leaked. I knew I had been stupid, and I was deeply apologetic and regretful. I was suspicious of everyone around me, wondering who was preparing to sell photographs or detail of my life. I was always careful about who I trusted. However, reading a Mr. Springfield's strong denial in this article makes me wonder, with the benefit of hindsight, about how they identify him as being the source of the photos. My solicitors have shown me a number of private investigators and voices sent to the Sunday Mirror, first from ELE, an agency known to have undertaken unlawful information gathering activities that relate to Mr. Springfield and Ms. Grieveson, and secondly from commercials and legal services on Mr. Springfield and on the Meade family. I understand that Simon Wright was a prolific commissioner of private investigators, including ELI. This all makes me extremely uncomfortable and shows the length the defendant journalists were prepared to go for a story. Okay, so what he's saying here, what I'm understanding here, Mr. Springfield, who was at the party as well, so even though they probably did have their private investigators taking photographs without their knowledge, Okay, so they try to blame it on Mr. Springfield, and Mr. Springfield saying, I went to a party. Okay, I'm just paraphrasing now. I didn't take any photos. Don't try to blame this on me. I didn't sell you any photos. If you dare say something about, I'm gonna take legal action. Because of that strong denial from Mr. Springfield, Harry believed that it was them who was doing their illegal activities pretty much. But Harry's catching up to them. All right, so because of the strong denial, Springfield said. Okay, this article further report on the ongoing strain in my relationship with my father, stating I was sulking like a teenager after he grounded me, that I was being forced to do a dual desk job and help out on the farm here at High Grove by cleaning out the pigsties and helping with the cattle. It also included a quote from a royal source that says I had been told to knuckle down. There were obviously consequences within my family, which I fully accepted, but I know my father was particularly unhappy with the poor judgment I had shown. However, as it reported in the article, the palace had already issued an apology on my behalf, and detail of how my father thought fit to punish me for my actions were not part of that, giving the extent digging the defendant's journalists were prepared to do into the source of the photographs. I think it's highly likely that they had done the same to try and find out more about what was happening to me and how I felt about it. I mean, when you think about it, why they so interested to write about it? I don't understand. Why do they need to go that deep to find private information about him? I understand they want to make money, but still, I don't understand. But anyway, 126, my solicitors have also shown me 2 contribution requests, payment date 6 February 2006, the date of publication, which relate to this article. One to Jeremy Durkin with the description Prince Harry for 72.8. Okay, now I think I know how to read the money sign. Okay, 72 pound and 48 pence. I look it up. Okay, 48 pence. And in the US they will say cents, but in UK they call it pence. Almost the same but different wording. Okay, and another to Tim Graham with the description Prince Harry front page for 100 pounds. The call data I had been shown for Paddy Havison, shown 2 suspicious calls made by MGN to him in February 2005, and a further suspicious call made on 4 February 2005, which, giving the story, contained an angle on mine and my father's relationship, no longer seems surprising. This gave me no doubt that MGN were using unlawful techniques to gather private information about me. Okay, 74, Who Dare Wenzers, Mirror, 4 March 2005, Jane Kerr, Royal Reporter, and Chris Hughes. 127, this article, written by Jane Kerr and Chris Hughes, appear on page 9 of the Daily Mirror with a small photograph of both myself and my brother, along with what I understand about the activities of Jane Kerr. I understand that her co-author, Chris Hughes, was a regular commissioner of private investigators, including Jonathan Stafford, Searchline, and Servant-Side. Okay, the article reported the appointment of Jamie Lawther Pinkerton as the first private secretary to me and my brother. The palace did make an announcement regarding his appointment, and the article itself reported that we helped choose him for the role and that we got on well with him, which we did. Okay, 128. There's extensive detail in the article about Jamie, including his role as a former SAS commando, some of his experiences from his 20-year career in the army, and the fact he has 3 children of his own. There are also several quotes from unidentified friend and ex-colleagues of Jamie's. Given what I now know about the defendant's journalist activities, these all feel very suspicious to me, especially as I have seen the call data disclosed by the defendant related to Jamie. This include a call being made to him the day before this article was published. Again, this now seems like the defendant journalists were digging around for more private information to publish. My goodness. Tony Parsons, Prince Charles, Mirror, 14 March 2005, Tony Parsons. Okay, 129. My goodness, as I'm reading this, I'm thinking that one of my, I don't know if I mentioned this already, on PYTE, I've said Harry probably has his lawyers, Megan in particular. I think that was during Megan lawsuit. They probably have their lawyers going through papers, to the newspapers, to see headline, to see what Harry could possibly use to sue them. And then when they bring certain things to Harry's attention, whether it's a go or thumbs down or something like that, it seems that this is what was going on. Oh my goodness. It seems like I have a freaking crystal ball on Harry when I have no idea. I was just saying on top of my head. Right, so let's continue. 129, my solicitors have advised me that this short article written by Tony Parsons and appearing in his column, okay, did I read this? Okay, the extent, digging around former part. Yes, I did. Okay, my solicitors have advised me that this short article written by Tony Parsons and appearing in his column on page 23 of the Daily Mirror was included as one of the 140 articles identified by me and my particulars of claim and error. While I am unclear as to how information about a private conversation between me and my father about my relationship had been obtained by the News of the World, who had published the story a day prior, I accepted that Mr. Parsons was commenting upon that. Okay, so he's letting know where he's fine with whatever because someone had said something about it. Okay, Chelsy gap year. The People, 24 April 2005. Dean Roswell, Royal Editor. Paragraph 130. The article published on page 24 and 25 of The People and written by Dean Roswell feature a large photograph of me smiling and a separate photograph of Chelsy laughing, marked as an exclusive. It revealed that Chelsy will take a year out from her studies to be able to spend more time in England, as I was just about to enroll at Sandhurst. I now understand that Dean Roswell is well known in this litigation as having used unlawful information gathering techniques himself and also a arbitral commissioner of private investigators, including JJ Services and commercial and legal services. The article includes a quote from an insider which states that I was spending hours on the phone to Chelsy, that I was finding the prolonged period apart difficult as I cannot concentrate or relax, and that I was quite emotional. The article also reported that we had just had an intimate break, Hideaway South African hunting lodge, and that Chelsy had a visit me in England in February for a hush-hush holiday. It also says that Chelsy had spoken to a passenger on the plane and said she couldn't wait to see me. A passenger, that's us. Oh my God. This is just too much and ridiculous. 131. I find the level of detail in this article so disturbing. Chelsy had no interest in being involved in public life. She found the press intrusion as difficult as I did, and it was the main factor in why we decided to end our relationship. Wow. I don't believe she would have been freely chatting to passengers on the plane. She wanted to keep a low profile. The fact those comments are attributed to her like that make me angry. From the very beginning, we took all possible steps to keep our plans a secret and will not have been telling many people about any gap year plans or holiday. The defendant journalist even seemed to acknowledge this by describing her February trip as hush-hush and our trip to South Africa as being in a hideaway. If this is the case, how did they know? That's the thing. Reading this article with the benefit of hindsight, I realized how brazen they were about the information they had managed to get. They were telling on themselves too. 132. The reference to me and Chelsy spending hours on the phone is just another example. I wasn't telling friend that, okay, it wasn't obvious to anyone else, as I wasn't making these calls in public. Who is this unidentified insider that is quoted? It seems to me that they must have obtained copies of our phone records and just seem to the volume of length of our calls. Okay. 133. I have been shown a contribution payment request to Ferrari Press Agency Ltd Limited, who are known to have employed unlawful information gathering techniques for £600 with the description Chelsy gap year. The call data related to Paddy Havison also shown 4 calls made by MGN journalists to Paddy the day after this article was published, which also think is suspicious given Paddy was across our operational and security arrangement. Wow. Okay, ADA Harry Carey, The People, 15 May 2005, Dean Roswell, Royal Editor. Okay, 134. This article was published as 2-page spread on page 6 and 7 of The People and featured a large photograph of me and fatigues along with a small photograph of other cadet out on an exercise. It is marked as an exclusive, written by Dean Roswell. I now understand that Dean Roswell is well known in this litigation as having used unlawful information gathering techniques himself, and also a habitual commissioner of private investigators, including JJ Services and Commercial and Legal Services. The article reports that I was being let off daily marches at Sandhurst due to a long-standing injury to my knee, and include quotes from insiders at Sandhurst about the injury and treatment, and that the way that the other cadet felt about me received what they perceived to be special treatment. As I mentioned above, I was not going around freely discussing any medical issues or injuries that I had. I was almost conditioned to feel guarded at this point in my life, worrying I couldn't trust anyone for fear that it will end up splashed across the tabloid. 135. The second part of the article revealed that I was using the Academy computers for 15 minutes each day to exchange email with Chelsy, and includes quote from another unidentified sources about how, oh my goodness, this is purely ridiculous how intrusive these people are in his life. My God. Okay, the second part of the article revealed that I was using the Academy computer for 15 minutes each day to exchange email with Chelsy, and includes quote from another unidentified source about how I was always come back with a smile on my face and that I seem very fond of Chelsy. I only been at Sandhurst a couple of weeks by this point, and while I can't remember the specifics of how often I was speaking to Chelsy over email at this time, I wasn't sharing this information with my colleagues who I only just met. List, that's right, there's certain things you don't say to people. Okay, list of all, because that kind of things will have made me seem soft, but also talking lovey stuff with your cadet will make you soft. Oh my goodness. But also because me and Chelsy were so protective of our relationship and wanted people to know as little as possible for fear of leaks. Okay, 136. My solicitors have shown me a contribution request payment to John Ross, date 15 May 2005 for £150, which, given its timing, appear to relate to this article. As I'm reading this, one of the things that crossed my mind here, there's Harry, all these people who's crying and screaming and all of that. Harry is only talking about himself, things that he's gone through, his relationship. He's not mentioning any other person. I mean, he said, yes, I talked to my father. My father did punish me here and there. So how is this a problem to other people, where Harry's bringing it to court and said, this is what the paper were doing to me, to him. So how is these people going crazy like that? Oh my goodness. When I say these people, I'm talking about this guy. Okay, I actually think this is a car crash. I mean, God, every time I read this, put your force out there to protect Harry. These people are freaking berserk. Okay, I have also been, it's almost like what I see here, those high society people are just throwing anything out there to go protect me, do these things for them. You know, in the movie when they're about to catch the bad guy, okay, they finally, you know, the good guy is about to put a hand on the bad guy, so the bad guy can't throw anything out anymore because all of his body, how do you call this, people or bodyguard. That's it. Bodyguard have gone. Okay, they destroyed the bodyguard. Now they're throwing table, chairs, and whatever to stop the good guy from putting a hand on them. That's what I'm seeing here. This is the image that I'm seeing here, with these people coming out talking those BS. Okay, I have also been shown call data relating to Patty Harbison, showing a suspicious call made to him the day prior to the publication of this article. As such, I believe that the information in this article came from unlawful information gathering. K93 Shell Shocked, The People, 9 April 2006, Dean Roswell, Royal Editor. Line 137. This article, which appeared on page 11 of The People, written by Dean Roswell, is marked as an exclusive and has a large photograph of Chelsy looking unhappy, along with a small photograph of me with my hand over my mouth. As I have said above, I understand Dwayne Roswell is well known within this litigation. The article revealed that Chelsy blew her top after I had been on a night out with cadets from Sandhurst, and we had visited Spearmint Rhino. It contained the exact detail of our arrival time, where we had been before, and that one of our group wasn't allowed in for being too tipsy. Okay, 138, meaning drunk. Okay, 138. The article report that Chelsy had let rip and steering off phone calls, and includes a comment from a highly placed source that she had gone berserk, had slammed the phone down because she was too angry, and then called back to scream at me for half an hour. To the best of my recollection, I don't think Chelsy did go mad about me going there. We did speak about it over the phone, but I promised her that I hadn't had a lap dance a lap dance and stay with the 3 other cadets that had girlfriends. The details about the timing, I'm sorry I'm laughing, but anyway, he's trying to be a good boy, you know, trying to keep a relationship, but these people are intruding on his, my goodness, trying to mess it up for him. Okay, the detail about the timing and length of the calls is so specific. With hindsight, it seems likely to me that the defendant journalist had access to one of our phone records and put 2 and 2 together to make a story. Okay, 139. The article states that Chelsy and I were reunited in Mozambique, which is described in the article as a make or break holiday. Again, details of my travel arrangement were always intended to be a confidential for security reasons, so I'm sure how the defendant journalist will know this, especially in advance. There's also a quote from a Royal Insider which says I was feeling torn, worrying that Chelsy was cooling on our relationship. At the time, as the article itself states, I was at Sandhurst, not staying in any of my family residence. This is not the kind of things I'll be discussing with my father or anyone else at the palace. So who could this Royal Insider be? I might have expressed some concern to Chelsy herself over the phone or voicemail, or perhaps a close friend, but this quote seems extremely suspicious to me. Similar, the quote from another source about how this could be the final straw for Chelsy is also suspicious. As stated, Chelsy and I were not widely discuss our relationship. My goodness. Okay, 140. I think this will be my last page for this video. Okay, my 140. My solicitor have shown me 3 contribution request payment related to this article, all of which are the same date as publication. You know, one thing that I was thinking as I was reading this, where Harry said Chelsy wanted to stay private and stuff like that. She was the one who broke the relationship. This is someone with self-respect. Okay, if certain thing, let's say certain thing had happened and things like that were happening, you know, this is someone with self-respect and will not let certain things happen to her. All right, unlike someone else, you know what I'm saying? All right, so let's continue. Where was I? Okay, my solicitor have given me 3 contribution request payment relating to this article, all of which are the same date as publication. There is a payment to Big Picture for £150 with the description Prince Harry, page 7. A payment to Buck Kevins, okay, for £100 with the description Harry and Lap Dancer, and payment to Ferrari Press Agency Limited for £300 with the description Chelsy Lap Dancing Anger, giving the private detail in the article and the very specific detail about my phone activity. I find this payment particularly suspicious. Again, this is where they're putting things together. Harry's backing up, okay, backing up his claim. Okay, they did this, they wrote this about me, and meanwhile I'm trying to keep it private. I will not tell certain people about certain discussion, but yet there is this payment for this person with the title of whatever it is that they wrote in the paper. 97, Harry and Space. The Mirror, 24 July 2006, Stephen Moyers. Paragraph 141. This article, which was published on page 23 of the Daily Mirror, was marked as an exclusive. It was written by Stephen Moyers, who I understand is known in this litigation for his use of the private investigators' commercial and legal services. It appears on the left-hand side of the page alongside a shorter story about Chelsy watching me play polo. The article claims to exclusively reveal that I had been approached to join one of the first commercial space flight. Okay, 142. What's interesting about this article is the reference to my brother and I discussing this. There was conversation about this at the time. Obviously, I was excited at the prospect, but how did the defendant journalist know who I'd spoken to about it? Okay, did he outed him out? Okay, well, if he bring it up, there must be a receipt on that. 143, I have also been shown by my solicitors a contribution payment request to Big Picture for £1,000 with the description Prince Harry, page 23 EN, which I believe relates to this article. I have also been shown call data relating to my associate Jamie Murray Wells, who, as I explained above, was close to both my brother and I. There was a call made from someone at MGN to Jamie on 21 July 2006, which seems suspicious. It's appalling to see the reach of the defendant's activities and how much they were preparing to spend to gather information and or photograph of me. Chelsy is gone terror. The People, 10 September 2006, Dean Roswell, Royal Editor. 144. This article, which appeared on page 18 of The People, written by Dean Roswell, reported that Chelsy had been robbed at gunpoint at a wine bar in Cape Town. It included a large photograph of Chelsy, but I don't think from that night itself Chelsy didn't seem to be the target of the attack. She was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Okay, but it was an extremely scary experience for her and for me as her partner thousands of miles away. Things like this reiterate the distance between us living in different countries, and we certainly spoke a lot over the phone and exchanged voicemail about this incident. Wow. 106. I'm raring to go Mirror, 23 February 2007. Chris Hughes, security correspondent. Okay, I'm gonna add this page, and then after that, that's it, just in case I cut some stuff out. Okay, 145. This article, which appeared on page 14 of the Daily Mirror and was written by Chris Hughes, was a follow-up from the exclusive Daily Mirror article published 6 days prior that revealed there were plans for me to serve in Iraq. For obvious reason, any plans for me and my regiment were intended to be highly confidential, so no coverage of this was welcome. This article report on comments from Clarence House, which again I believe were responsive after the defendant journalist had exposed the detail of the tour. 146. I understand that Chris Hughes was a regular commissioner of private investigators, including Jonathan Stafford, Searchline, and Sovereignside. My solicitor have shown to me 2 private investigators' invoices from GlobalNet Global Net News to the Daily Mirror, date 8 February 2007 and 14 February 2007, which I can only conclude relate to this story, given how guarded the information was. The call data related to Paddy Havison also shown a suspicious call made to him from someone at MGN. On the same day this article was published. It all now makes sense to me. I had no chance to serve without it being public knowledge, as the defendant journalists were using unlawful means to obtain this highly sensitive information and had no regard as to how it will impact me. Not only that, the people who were serving around him as well. My goodness. Sheesh. 107, Harry Don't Be a Hero. The People, 4 March 2007. Dean Roswell, Royal Editor. 147. The article, which was published on page 31 of The People, was written by Dean Roswell and marked as a royal exclusive. It features a headshot of me and my fatigue along with a small photograph of Chelsy. The article report on Chelsy's feeling about me going to serve in Iraq, stating she had begged me not to be a hero. It stated that Chelsy had made 12 phone calls to be an hour while I was on a night out, and that I had stepped outside the bar in South Kensington to take each call. To avoid embarrassment in front of my friend, it also included 2 quotes from a palace source that revealed that Chelsy had kept ringing me because she thought I was being too blasé about my safety and that she was worried and wished I wasn't going to Iraq at all. Okay, 148. At the time of this article, I really did hope I was going to be deployed to Iraq, and I was on standby along with the rest of my regiment. I felt like it was my calling. I had trained for it. I wanted to be there with my men. In the end, the press covering and speculation was so extensive, I was unable to go because I had become too much of a security risk for me and them. Yeah, you could see that a target had been put on my head, which will endanger those in my regiment as well as me. I was devastated. However, when the tour was still a possibility, Chelsy was extremely worried and we discussed it a lot. There was no changing my mind. I was determined to serve. I don't remember specific conversation, but she definitely challenged my motive, questioning our relationship and expressed concern. She was undoubtedly upset as we were based in different countries. A lot of this will have been in calls and voicemails. Alright, so let's finish this. Okay, so that's it. Alright, so I'm gonna stop. Let me mark the page. Page 36. Alright, I finished page 36. Next one will continue on page 37, paragraph 149. Okay, so please take a moment to subscribe, like, and share. If you want to support this channel, there's a PayPal link and a Cash App link in the description. You could donate. Those who donated, thank you. I will be working on creating the Patreon page, and yeah, and those who want to support me could go there once it's ready. Okay, so that's it. Now I'm gonna go on Twitter to look at some of the things that I bookmarked, and then I'll come back to this and edit it. Alright, so that's it. Thank you for watching.
It is a great privilege to be with all of you today.
we ask for forgiveness, and please come back.
As you saw me find the love and happiness that I'd hoped for all my life. You are all in this together, and if I may speak personally, we are all in this together, because asking for help was one of the best decisions that I ever made. You will be continually amazed how life changes for the better.